the same time, we don't want to take our eye off of RFK Jr. There's been some major developments and a major sign also that the Biden campaign certainly sees him as a threat. They trotted out all living Kennedy family relatives who were willing to come and endorse him. Let's take a listen.
My name is Joe Kennedy.
I'm Carrie Kennedy. Troy Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy Townsend.
Chris Kennedy.
And I'm here to proudly endorse Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Joe Biden.
Our future is on the ballot in a way in which we haven't seen in generations.
The only way to win this election is for everybody to go out and vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
When I think of modern politicians in our country in this century, I think Joe Biden is the RFK of his generation.
Believes in democracy, believes in human rights, believes in the freedoms.
This is a president who embodies the Kennedy legacy.
Oh my God. Let me just say this.
He believes in the freedoms, Saagar.
Do you know how insulting it is to RFK, the real RFK, who is a great man and a great politician, to say that Joe Biden is the new RFK? Whether his son is or not, that's up to him. He still has to prove that. But RFK himself, man, I think I used to at least have yeah, there we go. We got Robert Kennedy in his times. It's a great book. I wish people would pick it up, and that is just one of those which really bothers me. But what is ironic about this is that as the Biden campaign continues to see RFK Jr. as a threat, there's actually a lot of polling now that has come out to show that he may not necessarily be just a problem for Joe Biden. Let's put this up here on the screen. This is some new data from NBC News. They say how the race shifts in a multi-way field compared to a binary choice. So what you guys can see in front of you is that with the two named candidates of Trump and Biden, that you have Joe Biden at 44, you have Trump at 46, and then you have 10% who are not sure, wouldn't vote, and other. For 5 named candidates, you have 39% for Biden, 13% for RFK Jr., 37% for Trump. So obviously, that is a huge drop for Trump from 46 to 37. Biden certainly does lose some, but it appears that he's going to lose some of that 4 to 5%, Krystal, to Jill Stein and to Cornel West, and that RFK Jr. is actually pulling a decent chunk of votes away from the Trump campaign. It explains, too, why Trump has been attacking RFK Jr. recently. But this is evidence, I think, that this is the most evidence we've had so far is a very high-quality poll just to demonstrate that this very much could make things a lot easier for Joe Biden to win re-election. If anything, we can think about it a little bit in the Ross Perot vein. You know, Bill Clinton, yeah, he won 300 some electoral votes. He only won 42% of the popular vote, okay? It was H.W. Bush and Perot that took the rest. H.W. Bush, for the rest of his life, basically refused to say Ross Perot's name. I think the closest he came is he was like, I don't like to say his name. I think it cost me the election. And that was it. I mean, he was bitter to the very, very end. And I mean, maybe at a point, I'm not really sure. But my whole point is that just with 39% for Joe Biden, if RFK Jr. is able to take away, let's say even within the margin of error, let's say 10% away from Trump, that's a disaster for the Trump campaign.
So here's the breakdown of the numbers specifically. If you take the Jill Stein and the Cornel West effect out of the, instead of the 5-way race, like what happens with just the RFK voters. So it's 15% of voters who originally picked Trump when it's just Trump versus Biden. 15% of them switch to Kennedy when you give them that option. With Biden, it's only 7% who originally picked Biden, if it's just head-to-head Biden-Trump, who switched to Kennedy. So 15% for Trump versus 7% for Biden. And then they underscore something that I've been saying for a little while here, which is that Republican voters just have a much higher favorability for RFK Jr. than Democratic voters do. So you've got, among Republican voters, 40% positive and 15% negative, so really highly net positive for Kennedy among Republican voters. Democratic voters, it is polar opposite. Only 16% have a positive rating of him versus 53% who have a negative rating. Now, listen, other polls have shown the opposite effect. So I think it's very unclear at this point because at the end of the day, he's still a Kennedy. And also the other dynamic is Trump supporters tend to be more enthusiastic and more locked in than Biden's supporters. So there may be more disaffected Biden voters for RFK Jr. to pick up than Trump voters. But it is, I mean, this is something originally when RFK got in, all of the theorizing was like, no, he's definitely going to hurt Trump. Then it sort of switched to now it's definitely going to hurt Biden. And I think it's unclear, but if I had to say today, I think this is more of a problem for Trump because you just can't deny that there's this overwhelming negative view of him among Democratic voters. And you also still have, think about the way our politics works. I mean, everything is so centered around Trump and how you feel about Trump and how Trump feels about you, et cetera. And he's gone after RFK Jr. a bit, but more on policy. The vibes are like, yeah, I like him. I think he's better than Biden, he said. So he's getting the friendly treatment from Trump. He's getting the aggressively negative treatment from the Democratic Party. And I think that sends a signal to a lot of voters of like which side he's more aligned with. I mean, it shouldn't be that way, but that's just the reality.
That's a good point. Negative polarization is one of the biggest driving forces in U.S. politics.
Exactly. Yeah. So in any case, it's interesting. I think it's still unsettled, but I am increasingly see there's a Wall Street Journal poll that also showed RFK Jr. taking more from Trump than from Biden, which begs an interesting question of why it is then that the Biden campaign is like so much more freaked out about him, apparently, than the Trump campaign.
Let's put this up there on the screen, too. For ballot access-wise, we're seeing a big development for RFK Jr. A campaign announced on Thursday that they have gained ballot access in Michigan for the 2024 election. Obviously, Michigan, key battleground state there, both for Trump and for Biden. Trump won it by about 10,000 in 2016. In 2020, Biden won, but not by actually an overwhelming majority. There have been some issues there that we covered. You know, thankfully, we did an RFK Jr. focus group in Michigan. We showed you that there is some real support there on the ground. Obviously, there's also a big Arab American contingent of voters that are in Michigan. Are they going to show up? And are they going to vote for Biden? All of these are completely unknown questions. But the big picture is that he is gaining ballot access slowly but surely. Let's go to the next one, please, because this also demonstrates where, because of some of the money that they've got now, they're able to at least contest some of these challenges from the courts to his ballot access. So, for example, Hawaii's state Democratic Party, think about that, has sought to disqualify the We the People Party, which was formed specifically to get RFK Jr. on the ballot. The state Democratic Party, according to the order from the Office of Elections late Friday in Hawaii, said that the Democratic Party failed to meet its burden of proof to boot the Kennedy Party from the ballot. So, as they say here too, while Hawaii's 4 electoral votes are not likely to be consequential, this is this first victory against challenges, and assigns to that keeping the independent off the ballot will not be as easy as Democrats have been thinking that it would be, and as they plan to do this across the entire nation. So this was a trial balloon, but where they're really going to be gunning for him is Michigan, if he does get Pennsylvania, if he gets Georgia, and California, any of these places where he could either eat into the popular vote or actually eat into the Electoral College.
It's sort of adorable, the account of how this went down, because the RFK Jr. team didn't actually have a lawyer who was involved in these hearings. They just had like whoever the like mom who's volunteering for their campaign on the ground in Hawaii was there. And in spite of the fact that, the Democratic Party, they had their lawyers, whoever, well-paid, well-trained, et cetera. And she was still able to prevail in this court, in spite of the fact the judge had to keep kind of, explaining how this works and when she could speak and what sort of objections she could make, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, they found there was really no merit to the case that the Democratic Party was trying to pursue against RFK Jr. Again, I just find it really interesting that it's the Democrats who are so panicked about the idea of having RFK Jr. in the race when it's really unclear who he's going to take more from. And so it's like, okay, well, rather than fixating on trying to crush this person, kick him off the ballots, offer voters any sort of other choice, I feel like, in many ways, I don't really feel like RFK Jr. is a choice because they're all the same on a number of topics, but I won't put that aside for a moment. But rather than actually appealing to voters, their instinct is always just to like make it so that people can't have any choice. There was a really interesting, I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter yesterday. It was just so perfect. Did you see this Hillary Clinton tweet?
No.
Or this make it into your time? Oh, no. It was just too perfect. What is it? She tweeted out this chart. It was about climate change. And it showed under Trump, the CO2 emissions, under Biden, the CO2 emissions, and then what the target level that Biden himself set, not even like the bigger like European standards or whatever, that Biden himself set. And it showed Biden wildly missing his own target that he met, but being slightly better than the Trump line. And she tweeted that out and was like, here's what's on the line. This is why you got to vote Democrat. And it's like, this is just too perfect. Like, you tweeted out a chart showing that you're modestly a little bit better than Trump, but still not even coming close to actually dealing with the issue. And it's such a perfect encapsulation. Do you have, what did she actually say?
I have it here in front of me. Yeah,
What'd
she
she
says,
say?
what's at stake for our climate in this November's election? Absolutely everything.
Absolutely
It has
everything.
The Trump line, the Biden line, and Target.
Absolutely everything, but he's still not going to do enough to actually like meet even the,
What's dumb about this too is that
modest target that he himself set.
But here's the thing: there was also a pandemic. There was a massive drop in CO2 emissions, and some of this is also. So this isn't even reflective of policy. It doesn't make it. This is what a stupid graphic on so many levels.
Yes, but isn't it? It's such a just pitch perfect encapsulation.
I guess if you
of
care
the way they
about
think.
the climate, then that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, Biden's going to be moderately better, but we're still going to all, die in the climate apocalypse because absolutely everything is on the line. Great. Good to know. Good to know.
If you accept that framing, yes, I could see why exactly that would be a problem. There also, let's put this up there on the screen, some news from the Kennedy campaign. Nicole Shanahan donated, who is the VP candidate for RFK Jr., donated $2 million to the campaign the day after that she was named to the ticket. So on March 27th in the state of Nevada, $2 million literally just on the day that she was named the VP. And of course, she's probably got hundreds of millions of dollars at her disposal. This is going to finance both ballot access initiatives and court challenges in the future should they arise, and is definitely going to be a major asset to the Kennedy campaign going forward. So I think things are looking up for RFK Jr.'s campaign right now. In terms of the ballot access, I mean, Michigan alone, that's huge. Just a massive.
Michigan is massive. That one
massive.
state.
Just have it. Right, exactly. That one state could decide the entire election. If he just gets Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, then that's it. Now we're truly in the ball game. And I think some Democrats are starting to take notice. We've been watching some of the activists and others go after him, but I'm very interested to see how it all turns out.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.